Well, who doesn't love just a little bit of nature in their life? I certainly do. And you know, growing up, my children loved nature too. In fact, I remember my little boy, when you would take him outdoors, he'd be happier than when he was indoors. It was almost like, take him outdoors, stop crying. Take him indoors, start crying. But you know, kids continue to love nature when they grow up. And why not foster that love of nature with a little bit of nature study? Why not find out what makes the sun go and then what makes it come like it's just done? Why not look at why the wind blows? Why not study about our eyes and how they adjust to light and dark? That is how you bring learning alive. And so come and join me in this video as we talk about what nature study is and why you need it in your homeschool. We'll also look at some nature study ideas and how to keep a nature journal. And we'll also look at how to do some nature walks. First of all, what is nature study? Nature study is simply studying plants and animals, those things in nature around you that can be found either in your home or outside of your home. The idea is to be very observant about the things happening around you. For example, watch the bee as it collects nectar. Watch the spider as it weaves its web. Perhaps you can observe what a tree looks like in summer, autumn, winter, spring. Now, nature study is very popular in the homeschooling environment, and it has two main components, which is number one, the nature journaling, and number two, the nature walk. So firstly, with your nature walk, you want to just go for a stroll in the area you live in, or perhaps you can drive to a local park near you and you walk with a purpose. As you take your walk, you take time to look at and observe and point out the things that you're looking for. For example, if you're studying gum trees, you can go up to them and have a look at them a little bit more closely. Take a look at its leaves, the texture of the bark, and are there any seeds around? What about parasite infections? What can you see happening on the tree itself? Can you spot any nests? Are there any birds that are in this particular tree? You want to let your homeschooled students ask any questions they have and give them the answers. If you can't give them the answers, then try and find a way where they can research those answers for themselves. It's also a great idea if you can get your homeschoolers to collect any little samples they find along the way. What about collecting a little bit of bark? What about collecting some leaves? If you're studying, for example, a gum tree, you might want to compare the gum tree with other trees around you also. We'll chat about some options for buying nature journals a little bit later in the video, but what you can do when you have your nature journal, which is either a production that you find or it can be a textbook. I like the productions and we will chat about that later. But you can just sit down along the way and record the observations you have, or you can go home and record your observations in the nature journal at home. Either way, the nature journal is going to be a personal record of what your homeschooler has learnt that day along their nature walk. In the nature journal, they can sketch things, they can glue pictures, they can even include little seeds that they might find in there. The sky is the limit, and here kids can get really creative. It's also a great idea if kids can record a scientific fact about what they've learned that day. For example, how does photosynthesis work? So in a way, the nature walk and the nature journal work together to form a really great nature study for your children. Of course, nature study is just one thing you can do with your homeschoolers along the way, and I talk about field trips, of which nature study and going for a nature walk is one option. And you can have a look at the homeschooling parenting program, which is the kind of how to homeschool course I run, and I've linked that below. You're going to love it, and it is great value for money. Okay, let's talk about some great nature study ideas. First nature study idea is to do a leaf comparison. So you can compare the size, the shape, the color, the parasitical infections, anything. Have a look and observe the different types of leaves you can find around you. Something I love to do, especially with little children, is make a stick construction. We like to make big teepees together. It's a bit of exercise as well, and children also get to balance and trying to make a structure. You can also make smaller structures with sticks that you find around and perhaps leaves. Thirdly, you can go find a river and you can put things into the river and see what sinks and what floats. And then with the things that float, you can look at the current of the river and see how fast the river is going in certain areas and what objects flow down the river faster. And then you can make that into a little bit of a science experiment. Thirdly, you can study an ant farm. Ant farms are great, and you can either have a look at something that somebody else has made, or you can make your own ant farm, and you can actually buy ant farms. I've linked one below in the description box below. And this is a great way for your children to get a few ants with a queen ant, put some sand in, put some cotton wool, a cotton bud with some water on it, and then see the ants quickly make their own little home inside this ant farm. If you feel comfortable with it, another great nature study idea is to dissect a dead bug that you find. You can also get old pieces of fruit or vegetables and leaves and put them in a bag and see what happens to it, what mold or what other things grow on those items. Why don't you catch a caterpillar and study the cocooning process? And then you can create a nature palette of different colors you see around you. Make bark canoes and float them down the river. Why not look at the weeds in your garden and see if any of them are edible? Why not do a weed study and see what's edible? You'll be surprised what you find. Do a little bit of bird watching. See what common birds are around your area. Learn about worms and then make a worm farm. Try to start a fire with just sticks and rocks. Make some weapons you can use for hunting. Learn about the local fish in your area. Or why not get a shovel of dirt and pull it apart and see what's inside of it. As you can see, there are plenty of things you can do for nature study ideas. Now, if you want more nature study ideas, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because my next video is going to be on nature study ideas exclusively. Right, now let's have a look at a few nature study journals you could get. First of all, you can just get a ruler book with lines and a blank sketch pad for sketching. This will set you up. It won't give you much guidance on what to do, but it can be a really good start, especially if you've just started homeschooling and you don't have a nature journal on hand. Just record your observations and sketch out things you find in nature. But now let me tell you about some really cool ones on the market today, and I'll link to them in the description box below, so don't worry. So first off, you have your leather-bound book, which are just plain books with no lines at all, but it's leather-bound, and so it's just a beautiful thing for children to handle. And they can stick in pressed flowers or seeds or whatever else they find and trace over them and draw notes and sketch, and it's just an inspiring thing to use. So I've linked that down. Secondly, we have the Nature Study for Kids. Now this one is fantastic and gives kids a few pages that guide them on what to study. For example, moon phases and those sorts of things. But it also gives them good tracking pages to give them guidance on how they can study nature. There are plenty of pages to record their observations in. I particularly love the animal tracking chart and the plants to avoid page. Next, there is the Nature Walk Journal. If you're going on a hike, this is the book to bring. There's lots of illustrations of leaves and cloud formations and lots of extra information pages, as well as lots of blank ones where children can record their observations. You can also paste in flowers or put in your photos that you've taken of the day. There's also some beautiful quotes in there too. There's also a great scavenger hunt journal. You go outside, you collect natural objects, and then you come inside and you can put stickers in your book to represent those objects. This is a full of fun feature pack. This nature journal, which is more of a pack, is full of fun. It really gives kids a sense of excitement as they do that hunt after all those natural objects. There's also over 500 stickers in this journal, which make it a great hit, especially for very young children. Let me give you an example though of what a nature walk looks like. Now, of course, if you want more information on nature walks, I've linked a very helpful article in the description box below, an article that I wrote on my website, so make sure you check it out. So what does a nature walk look like? First of all, you want to pack your stuff. This includes your nature journal, but also things like your painting brushes, your sketch pads, your pencils, anything that will assist you in your nature walk. Perhaps you want to take some bags to collect some things along the way. And then you want to head out into nature. Whether this is your backyard, whether this is a local walk near you, or perhaps you've driven to a nature park to really get immersed in the whole experience, the choice, it's up to you. As you start walking, you want to really observe the things around you. Don't just walk and not see anything. Try and see what interesting things you can find. It is really incredible what is there when you're looking for it. For example, my son and I went on a regular walk, which we'd been on plenty of times, but this time I said, "Now, mate, keep your eyes peeled and tell me if you see anything interesting." As we went along, we looked at tree rot and termite damage. We compared different leaves. We had a look and we compared different animal poo. We felt the different textures of the bark on each tree as we passed them. We looked at roots which were sticking up out of the ground, and we discussed about how plants and animals and trees get the food that they need to survive. According to Charlotte Mason, observation is a habit that we should train in our children. Now, if you don't know anything about Charlotte Mason, then click on this video to learn more about the Charlotte Mason homeschooling method.